Ibanez have just launched a bunch of brand new guitars, and today we're going to be checking some of them out. Let's check out the brand new additions to the Q series. New Guitar Day is always a favourite one down at Guitar, and with a plethora of brand new Ibanez, or Ibanez, how would you call it plural? Let me know in the comments down below. Ibanezes, maybe. There has been a brand new additions of Q series. Sorry, I threw myself out by thinking of that plural question there. Anyway, there's a bunch of brand new Q series joining the very, very popular headless line from Ibanez. There's a few models to be going through today, so by all means, if you do want to check out a particular one, the video will be split up into chapters focusing on those particular guitars. But I'm just going to start off with the one in my lap because there's quite a lot to be getting on with, so let's just dive right in. This model here is the Q54W in this really, really cool copper metallic matte finish. This version here, this is the HSS configuration of the Q series, and actually I have one of the brand new 7-string versions here as well that I will be focusing on in just a second, because essentially they are pretty much the same sort of guitar in terms of what they've got loaded into them, but one's got one extra string than this one here. But obviously we'll quickly check out this guitar. As I mentioned, it's the headless variety of the Ibanez line here. But the kind of focus on it is that it does have that sort of like AZ sort of quality to it. So if you have played one of those guitars, which just that one in the back there, if you can see the blue one, that is the one we've been using on the channel actually for quite a while as well. Because the kind of biggest takeaway from this is that it has a much kind of chunkier neck than you would expect from a traditional Ibanez. It's still got that super flat radius to it as well, but it's almost kind of got like more of a C shape to it as well. On that stunning bird's eye maple fretboard there as well, and it's got like a really cool roasted maple and babinga neck on there. But let's just check out what some of these pickups are doing here, because there's quite a lot of, in kind of traditional Ibanez fashion, they've got a variation switch that you can get quite a few different sort of sounds out of. So I'll cycle through them and then we'll go back over them and we'll check out what the alteration sounds do as well. So this first set of sounds there, it's a pretty traditional sort of HSS configuration if you've ever tried one. They're humbucker down the bottom, split between the two there on the second, middle pickup on the middle, the two single coils on the fourth, and then neck single coil on the last position there as well. But with the alteration switch here, you can get you kind of quite a lot of quite cool sounds that you wouldn't really expect out of that configuration, making these particularly valuable for anybody who needs quite a sort of variation in their tones or something that's like super versatile as well. So to make it nice and easy on the first position humbucker there, that's not doing anything, that's just going to be your full humbucker. But we're moving on to the second position, which is traditionally the humbucker and the single coil in the middle there to get that proper kind of quacky sound. If I'm to press that switch, that'll just change the humbucker just into a straight up single coil, which gives you obviously the ability to have a bridge single coil. Into our middle position there, that's actually going to give us access to all of the pickups on at once here. So here's just the sound with it off. On at the fourth position there, which again traditionally would be your middle and your neck single coil there. That's actually going to give us access to the neck single and then the humbucker there as well, but in a split position. So it's almost kind of that middle position on a Telecaster. And then finally on the last position, which is just our neck single coil there. We flick that on, that activates the neck and the middle there, giving you almost kind of like a neck humbucker sort of sound, which... Which even just from that selection of sounds there, you can kind of tick every box that you would really need to. Obviously, we do kind of, you know, you want like that slightly warmer sort of neck humbucker sound. You flick that on, stick yourself on a little bit of gain there, and that's you kind of already in that territory. Which I think sounds super, super awesome as well. And as I mentioned right at the start, we do have a 7-string variation of this as well, which very much all the same sort of specs as opposed to it having anything new in it. But the main difference is the fact that this has got a really, really stunning poplar top on that there as well, which kind of obviously gives it that sort of futuristic look and sort of just something a little bit different as well. Still got the same sort of neck on it as well as obviously the original one, but this one just being that little bit thicker obviously to compensate for that 7th string there. So the configuration of this guy here, which is the Q547P, which that's nice and catchy obviously. You can get all of the same sort of tones as you would expect from the last one there. If you do want all those like really nice kind of glassy sounds, you can. But in all honesty, with a 7th string, you probably want to be doing a bit of this. See if that actually does that the same way that you would expect with obviously like a headed guitar. Kinda. It's quite unique. I mean, watch you don't cut your fingers when you're doing that, obviously. But yeah, this is obviously very much kind of, as I said, in the same wheelhouse as the other one here, but maybe just looks a wee bit more metal as well. But I would expect, obviously, some kind of more modern players and stuff as well. You know, a guitar like this, super ergonomic sort of feeling, super, obviously, kind of like easy to play as well. You could probably get a little bit more of those like kind of modern techniques as well. You know, I'm going to do my worst sort of thumping impression just now as well, but certainly anybody out there will be able to do this a lot better than me. I've yet to move past that level 1, of course, of it. That's the only one that I could really do with that. But yeah, something like this, obviously having the ability to have all those low notes and then the higher notes as well for any sort of like fusion-y players or newer players, you can obviously get that full range of tones and maybe doing some like accompaniment on the bottom for bass notes, up some tapping on the top as well. It's just such a cool guitar to play. I want to actually bring some attention just to the neck joint there as well. Just that's obviously on all of these guitars as well. But with this being like a particularly thin guitar, Aaron was saying actually it reminds him of the S series from Ibanez just before, which I think he's completely correct on. But the neck joint on this one is nice and thin. It really doesn't get in the way, especially if you are trying to get up to those like higher frets on the 24th fret there as well. With these being extra jumbo frets too, it obviously just gives you that little bit more purchase to actually get going with it. But if we're kind of sticking in that metal territory, tripping over my words again, let's check out one of the other models. So let's check out the QX52, which, as if we needed any more letters just to really keep us on our toes at Ibanez here. But there's one kind of key difference with this one, and it's not the fact that it's got the HH configuration here. It's actually the fact that this one does have fan frets on it, which this kind of pushes that into, again, that slightly more sort of modern territory, which I know a lot of players particularly really love that kind of setup, which it just gives you that kind of multi-scale option, which means that just your lower strings there are just going to be that little bit kind of like higher tension on them. And then the higher strings there are going to be a little like less tension, obviously, just for if you're doing any bends, and then if you're tuning down on the low strings here. But let's check in and see exactly what these pickups are doing. So much like the other guitars that I was looking at, this one also does have a 5-way selector switch and an alteration switch as well. So I'll just cycle through some of those sounds, see what we're getting from that, and then again go back to the alteration. With the dual humbucker setup, it's not as sort of like wild in terms of like what kind of pickup combinations you're getting, but you're still getting quite a lot out of it. So let's just start here just with our full humbucker. Moving on to our second one there, that is the outside coils active. That was both humbuckers active there. Moving over to our fourth position, we're actually now using the inside coils of each pickup, and I'll go back to the second position just so you can hear exactly how that changes. finally just our neck humbucker. Cool, and if we were to actually start implementing the alteration switch as well, what this is bringing in is this is essentially what's known as the power tap to Ibanez, which is something that you see a lot more on their basses, but actually on the AZ series as well. And it's basically just a slight like filter that you're going to start getting. I'm going to turn off my delay just so it's not adding any sort of modulation to it there as well. But check this out. It's almost kind of just making it just that a little bit kind of more kind of high end, taking it a little bit more to the low end there, just different sort of sound if you do need it. Moving on to our second position, that's where you're going to get more of a sort of traditional, just it splits into a single coil. In the middle, we're going to get that power tap setting there, so when we don't have it active, we're getting the full humbuckers, then when we put it on, that's when the power tap actives, and you're kind of getting a little bit more high end kind of coming through. Position 4 is just going to split the neck into a single coil as well, just giving you, again, more versatility. And then finally, the last position is just going to power tap our neck humbucker when you activate the alteration switch. Obviously not want to speak for yourself, but certainly with a dual humbucker guitar, I would imagine it's maybe a bit more kind of akin to, well, you're going to be wanting to play a bit more kind of distorted stuff as well, but I guess just much the same across the board for this Ibanez Q series and the AZ, and a lot of the guitars that are coming out is, again, versatility is very much at the centre of it. So let's hear kind of what this is handling just with a little bit of gain on it, then we'll move on to our last guitar. So obviously the main kind of draw with the QX being the fact that it does have these fan frets on it. But if that's not your bag, if you're not keen on that super futuristic design, then this guy here is going to be the answer for you. This is just one of the Q52s as well. But HH configuration there, as well as the poplar top that we saw on the 7-string as well. So you can kind of blend the two of them if you want to. Now, there's not really much to go over with the sounds because we are looking exactly the same sort of configuration as the QX that we were just looking at there. So let's maybe just do a couple of extra sounds on this and then round up the video. So that was just a very quick look at the brand new guitars joining the Q series in 2024. I think one of the kind of main takeaways from these guitars, obviously, if you're not a headless person, then you're not really going to be keen on these right from the offset. But if you do have a slight notion for them, but maybe you don't want anything that's like totally futuristic, because one of the kind of main draws, I think, of these models particularly is the fact that it still has all the sort of innards and it still feels like an Ibanez, particularly as I've mentioned the AZ series. So if you're keen on that at all, then I think you'll get on really well. But one of the main draws, obviously, this thing is light as a feather, you know, and it doesn't take up that much room. They come with these really, really handy travel bags as well, which are obviously ever so slightly smaller than your traditional gig bag. But yeah, if you just want something that's just that little bit different, a little bit easier on your shoulder, but still looks pretty cool as well, I would definitely recommend you checking out the Q series next time you're in a guitar. But let me know what you think about them down below. And really, let me know what your true feelings about headless guitars are, because I'd be really keen to hear. And if you have liked the video at all and want to keep up with all the goings on at Guitar HQ, give us a like and a subscribe. It would be very much appreciated. But till next time, I've been Kieran, and it's just been a very quick look at the brand new Q series joining Ibanez in 2024. Have a great day.